Everybody, quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And welcome on a Friday. Great to have everybody here. We do have everybody here, really. We've got Kim here.
Kim, how are you?
And Albert's here as well.
Thanks, Tony.
What?
Oh, that's Albert, actually.
Albert, thank
you
you.
very much. Tony's not here. But actually, Albert's here Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tony's here Tuesday, Thursday, for those keeping score. I have an apology to get to first off.
Is it more of a my bad, I'm sorry, or is it more
I
like
feel
I
like
really
it's-
messed up?
It's worse than my bad, I'm sorry.
Oh.
I think, and I've, you know me a little bit. I literally was up all night having screwed this up because I really care about our listeners and I care about our viewers and our community, and I screwed one thing up to one person, and I think it was me. I've gone back and looked. Anyway, I'll tell you about that in a second. Look, the world's a grim place, getting grimmer. There's some big news out of the Middle East, and we'll talk a bit about that. It's a Friday, so we'll talk politics with Michael Shure and the great Jim Avila. Florida news, bottom of the hour, and the culture blaster at the bottom of the second hour. So there is a lot to do today. Also, we'll give you an idea of what we talked about last night in our meetup. We had a virtual meetup for our anniversary.
I love to see people and meet people like that. I just enjoyed it so much.
It was really great. It was really great. And thank you, everybody who participated. We'll do another one at some point. And when we do another one, I will, as my guest, Sharon will come. I will pay for her seat.
Did we leave Sharon out?
I can't believe it. I
What
just can't
happened?
believe it. I don't know what happened. And
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do
it's
it
not
for.
funny. I feel really bad about it.
Yeah.
And she sent a note to me. And I said, you didn't get a link, and I haven't heard back from her. I sent her a couple of things.
Is it Sharon Kidd?
No, the only reason
Different Sharon?
I should.
Okay.
I'm always a bit reticent to use people's last name on the air
Okay,
because I
got
feel
it.
like that exposes them in ways that they don't want.
Right.
So it's just Sharon E. is her last
Okay.
name, starts with an E.
Okay.
But I feel really bad. I don't even know if she's watching or going to watch anymore. She might be so
Oh,
disgusted. I feel so
no.
bad about it. And the other thing that happened last night, but that was really bad. So again, I can only say I'm so very sorry. And so if we do another, if you still want to attend, and when we do another meetup, which we will do within the next couple of months probably,
I want to do
before
a Mark
Christmas.
Thompson game night. I want to do that.
Yeah, the next one will be different, and
Yeah.
we're going to integrate some game elements, and I will have somebody else babysitting to make sure that everybody gets what. It was a scramble
Yeah.
to get certain things and certain elements in there. And then the second apology, Josh Mankiewicz from Dateline NBC cut his dinner short to be part of our virtual meetup. And thankfully, I didn't promise that he was going to be on, but it was going to be a great surprise guest, and Josh is just terrific. And he was trying to get in. He was in that waiting room, and I guess John didn't see him.
Yeah.
And so he never got in.
Yeah.
And he's another one. Like, I apologized a million times over, even though it wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
It's still my thing. Look, I should be responsible for making sure everybody gets on and gets. So I take full responsibility, but I feel bad, and I haven't heard back from him. I think he really is bent about it, because I think he went to a lot of trouble to be part of it. So anyway, so I've got that going for me. So I literally didn't sleep all night. I was like, wow, man, we had such a good thing, but I feel like I've let that listener down, and also everything going on in the Middle East. I'm just consuming a lot of news, and there's a lot that was keeping me up. But look, that's all to say we do our best to make it happen, and once in a while, something does get into the outfield, and I'm really sorry if that something affects anybody in any way that is, tough to deal with. It's really our effort to make everything great. We had a really terrific meeting, and as Kim says, and Kim and I were talking last night, one of the things that has happened, this is our 1-year anniversary, obviously. That's why we did the meetup. And we're still kind of celebrating. In fact, today we've got a couple more videos, don't we, Albert, with the happy anniversary videos? Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
we have a couple more, yeah.
A couple more. But anyway, I'll just finish this point, and then we are going to move on. But that we do something because we were all affected by KGO going away. And the thing we do is it's almost a kind of mourning that we have for this radio station that we loved, and this format that we loved, and the way it was delivered to us on the radio. And there's a lot about the old KGO and talk radio that we really adored. And so part of the mourning process is this constant reference to KGO and where we were and what happened. And John did it, and I did it, and Kim did it, and then the listeners all did it. And we want to, now that we're into our 2nd year, beginning today, we want to move on. We want to say, hey, we loved it too, and we can still talk about it, and we can still even embrace it and relate certain specifics about it, of course, because it was such a big part of our lives. But now, in our next meetup anyway, we're going to have other agenda items besides, sort of where were you when you got the news that KGO was going away? So we did a lot of that last night, but I thought really liked it. Last night we had a lot of laughs. I thought it was really fun. And it was really cool to spend some time with people, and some repeat visitors, repeat parts of the community. So, yeah. But those are my apologies to both Josh Mankiewicz from Daytime.
It was wrong,
NBC.
it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
I feel awful about something too. We owe another apology.
Well, I think now it feels like it should be officially brought in as a segment.
Vilma.
Correction and apology.
Apparently, Vilma was coming to the meeting last night, and she didn't get in either. Apparently, we left her out.
What?
Yeah.
She didn't get I
don't know.
a link?
I'm not
Really?
sure, but it looks
I
like
thought
maybe...
Vilma was hang on a second. Let me look at my notes.
I think we left... I said, did we leave you out? And she said, yes, we did.
No,
and then she said, I was crushed. Oh, no!
Oh, my God.
Oh,
This is awful.
Vilma!
Oh, God. Albert...
I blame Mark Thompson for that.
I totally blame Albert for this. I don't understand why...
Vilma,
Do you know who I am?
I know.
I'm kind of a big deal.
You should have come in, Albert, and said, can I help you in some way?
Vilma's like other than Catholicism, she's my spirit sister. I can't believe we left her out.
So it was... Oh, my God. This is just awful. Well, let me just say this then. Vilma, first of all, I'll refund your seat and your contribution. And now a second person will come as my guest. I'll pay for you for next time.
Oh, Vilma.
And you and Sharon. Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. That's the good part of this game, everyone. You sign up, and if for some reason there's a screw-up, and we don't know who they're going to be, it's always random, Mark will pay for your seat for the next one. Yes, so you got something to look forward to.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, we did our best, and unfortunately that didn't work very well, but that's okay.
I have to say, we thought we'd done such a good job, and I really try to streamline the process. But somehow Vilma and Sharon both. Wow, I feel like
it was not intentional.
Loser.
Both Vilma and Sharon just know we love you guys and we're so sorry and thank you for supporting us. And it was totally unintentional.
We treat you like family, and my family I forget about all the time. So there's that.
Can I say something positive related about a viewer?
Please.
You know, Johanne is a real big supporter of the show.
Big supporter, yes.
And she sent me a message today, and she talked about being grateful for the show. And then she said, one thing I should tell you is that I'm going to be in the Macy's, I think, Thanksgiving Day parade, she says, with my
Wow.
dance group. We are the Dancing Christmas Trees, and we have performed in the parade many times and in Europe. We primarily do tap, but I also do jazz.
I love tap. Is
So
that
if-
right?
There's never
if
been
you're
anything like
watching
this.
Yeah.
the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade and you see the dancing Christmas trees, think that's Johanne right
Oh,
there.
that is super cool. I must tell you that of all the dance, what are the medium dance
Troops,
or
dance troops?
I
Yeah.
just love tap. I just love tap.
Oh, okay.
I
All
think
the
it's just
dance
like the
genres,
coolest thing.
yes.
Yeah, genres.
Yeah,
Thank you. That's the
yeah.
word I was looking for. But that's so the dancing Christmas trees in the Thanksgiving Day parade. That's Johanne's crew.
Yeah, that's Johanne's crew. Yeah.
I love it. Really, really great. Well,
I'm
congratulations.
super excited. I'm going to watch the parade just to see her dancing in a tree suit.
Totally, and the great thing now is that you can watch the network show, and then I think they also stream stuff. So if for any reason you want to see more of her, like for example, and her troupe, you can watch it on the streamer. So that's kind of cool too. Well, there you go, everybody. It was a lot of fun, but we did screw up a couple of times, and I feel really bad about that. I didn't, in all the acknowledgments yesterday, there was a lot going on. I didn't acknowledge someone who I really think needs a big bowl of acknowledgement, and that is Diane. Diane is a person who does all of our graphics. So our little graphics before Friday Fabulous Florida or Law and Disorder, all of these things. Diane is a graphics artist, obviously, or graphic artist, and she completely volunteered, approached us and said, hey, would you like some graphics for this or that? And she's dealing with a lot of stuff in her family right now, and so I've sort of said, hey, don't worry about it. And still she goes, no, it's actually therapeutic for me. It distracts me. I like doing this stuff. So even the meetup graphic that has the information on it that we then ignore and don't follow through on, that graphic she did. So Diane, thank you. Really, I love our audience, and I feel that's it. That Diane did that. That shout out. Thank you to Patreon and PayPal supporters. We've gotten some great contributions. I'll get to them later. But that graphic is from Diane. So
I think, and it's weird with just a few lines, how she made my news graphic actually look like me. It is so, it's uncanny. I love it. Whenever you see that news graphic, I'm just tickled every time it pops up on the screen. Yeah, it looks like me. It's
I agree.
so cool.
I agree. It's she's really talented.
Yeah.
So thank you, Diane. We are sending you good energy for your family and everything you have to deal with, and thank you for being so proactive, really, in getting us going. All right, so
The Mark Thompson Show.
the only other thing I wanted to mention is that we have these videos, and I wanted to ask you, Albert, when are they going to run? I just need to kind of get my head straight on that.
We could just do them bottom of the hour after the news.
After the news, great.
Yep.
Okay. They're funny and they're fun, and you'll like them. So, the world of the Middle East is a confusing world. It's steeped in history. It's steeped in religion. It's steeped in what I think is just straight up tribalism. The idea of sort of religious doctrine underpinning everything. I think that just becomes weaker and weaker as you look at the way these warring tribes fight. It's a power struggle. It's a fight over land. It's a fight over territory. It's a fight over dominance. But the ruthlessness of the confrontations, they've just been upped through the years. And when Israel was attacked the way they were, with the ruthlessness, brutality, and barbarism that was the attack on babies and children and women, and with a wanton violence and mowing down the festival goers and taking hostages, which is the thing that's so complicated things now. The same rhetoric that followed our 9/11 followed that. We'll hunt you down, all of Hamas, every Hamas fighter is a dead man. You heard these things from Benjamin Netanyahu. The policies of Benjamin Netanyahu and the politics of Benjamin Netanyahu have not been politics of peace. They've been aggressive, and his government has been, as you're well aware, not something that gets widespread support in Israel. It created a massive schism in Israel where there were protests on the street. There were protests within the military. You know, in Israel, there's mandatory military service, and there were those saying, I won't serve in the military because of the autocratic tendencies of Benjamin Netanyahu. So their leader is not someone in Israel who enjoys widespread support. In fact, there are many calls, and I gave you that information from Haaretz, the leading paper in Israel, calling for his resignation. Now, obviously, there was an intelligence failure here, and I think that might underpin a lot of the demands for his resignation. But beyond that, there is a frustration with where they are. And the unspeakable barbarism that I was talking about has left everyone wanting something, wanting some sort of retribution, somebody has to own what happened. But the hostages really confuse everything, because how do you get them out? You know, we've talked before, and it's been reported on Chapter and Verse, Gaza is such a dense area, door-to-door fighting, it's going to be a mess. And now, Gazans are being asked by Israel, or told by Israel, really, to get out of the northern part of Gaza. We're talking about over 1 million people. And they're saying, get out.
24 hours to do it, right?
Yeah, they're saying, get out in a day. Yeah. Today is your get out day. The reason I mentioned 9/11 and the rhetoric is because 9/11 produced a lot of bad decisions for the world and bad decisions for the United States, right? We started a completely, I'd argue, unprovoked war with Iraq. I'm not saying Iraq was an outstanding nation with outstanding leadership, and I'm not even suggesting that they weren't a warring nation in some way. And you could argue the U.S. is a warring nation. But you get my point. I'm not saying that they're choir boys. But that was a completely ridiculous and stupid war that George Bush started. And he started it because of the outrage over 9/11. So when you look at these events, you have to be cautious about what these events lead you toward. I share the outrage. I share the shock. I also have immense concern as to what the future brings because of the emotional, reflexive moves on the part of Israeli leadership, and clearly the kind of preparation that Hamas has done and terrorists have done in the region that would suggest they're ready to take this on as a much wider conflict. In fact, I think Hamas is far more technologically savvy and equipped than they used to be. They have many more armaments, many more military strategists, and maybe a sounder, more ruthless strategy than ever before. When I say sounder, I'm talking about when it comes to taking on Israel. Albert, you have a setup piece on what's going to be happening or what's going on there now? Here
Starting with breaking news on Israel at war. Israel is urging the evacuation of more than 1 million people in northern Gaza, an indication that the military may be preparing for a ground invasion. Let's go back to our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Paddle, in Jerusalem. Good morning again, Ian.
Yeah, good morning, Gio. We're outside Damascus Gate. They've called for a day of rage, but things here are very quiet. Not the case in Gaza. A seventh day of bombing. And as you say, now this new warning from the Israeli Defense Forces for hundreds of thousands of people there to leave their homes immediately.
This morning, as the bombing of Gaza continues, Israel calling on hundreds of thousands of people to leave their homes amid fears of an imminent land operation. Israel's saying people should move from North Gaza for their own protection, but Hamas telling residents they should stay where they are. Overnight, the UN warning that moving so many people could have, quote, devastating humanitarian consequences. Its own teams in Gaza also affected by the advice as a convoy of UN vehicles drives south. Now, the military wing of Hamas claiming that 13 of the 150 hostages, which includes Americans, were killed in overnight bombing. Vast areas in Gaza already reduced to rubble, the death toll climbing remorselessly. More than 1,500 Palestinians killed since Saturday's attack in Israel, many more wounded. 300,000 Palestinians have been forced from their homes so far. This little girl seen crying in a stranger's arms. Humanitarian groups say hospitals are overwhelmed and on the brink of collapse. Now, Israeli forces are gathering at the border with Gaza for a possible ground assault. Israel retaliating for last Saturday's massacre of Israeli civilians that killed more than 1,300 people, including at least 27 Americans. And as the fighting intensifies, there are growing fears that the war could spread. Overnight, Iran, a sponsor of Hamas, says opening other fronts could be possible.
Well, the Israeli Defense Minister meeting with the US Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, saying this morning that Israel's moved from defensive to offensive, and also warning that there will be a long war. As terrible, as unimaginable as the events over the last 7 days have been, there are genuine fears on both sides that things are about to get even worse. Juju?
Yeah, that is, I think, indisputable. And
that's so hard when you see those little children with bloody faces. That just, I mean, you might as well just reach into my chest and tear out my heart.
And that's being played out over and over again. Sylvia says, as an atheist, blame it on two aggressive and entitled religions. One says we are the only chosen population by God. The other kills anyone who is not converted to their religion. Yeah. I would say this, Sylvia, I kind of agree with you. I don't think that any wars were waged by atheists, you know, that's, but I think all religions think their God is the right God. That's the whole deal, man. That's the whole, you know, the minute you say, oh yeah, your God's solid too, man. I just have a different God. That's just not the way religion's set up. There's one real true Savior. There's one real true God. There's one creator. There's one real one. All the rest of these people are misinformed. And the jihadism that accompanies it is the other element. And as I've told you, I think it's just tribal. I think it's just crap. I really do. I think it's the hook on which the tribal aggression that has been with human beings since we were here from the beginning. It's the hook on which that is hung. But regardless, and you know, I feel religion does a lot of good things, but organized religion in the Middle East is all about factionalized tribes. So here are two takes. One is what I told you, which is, you know, this is the ramp up to war. This is the ramp up to military aggression. And I was making the point that I think Hamas is not what it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. They've been armed in different ways and supported in different ways through Iran. And you're going to see that. They knew Israel would come in. And so that's why I think we have to prepare for a wider conflict. As Kim was saying, I think you were saying before we went on the air, Kim, that, you know, Israel said you got a day to get out. Hamas is saying don't go anywhere. Stay where you are.
Right. And you know, are they going to hurt you if you try to leave? You know, are you going to get shot in the street if you follow the orders from Israel to go? And I mean, I don't know of another country. I've never heard of this before. If America's going to bomb someone, we don't give warning. You do it. And here Israel's, I mean, say what you want about the whole conflict, but they gave you at least notice to go. And then Lori was saying in the chat, it's kind of disingenuous because where do they go? And there's very limited ingress and egress, she was saying. So even if they say move south, well, okay, but where are 1.1 million people affected by this? Where are they going to go?
I think I was saying in the chat, because it came up last night, I can't, you'll remind me, and it's not really important where I said it, but, Egypt is the other player in all of this when it comes to areas bordering Gaza. So Egypt could open up their border crossing and let a lot of these people who are trapped in Gaza out and into Egypt. Why don't they do that? It's a non-starter, okay, through time. Since the Israelis pulled out of Gaza and gave it to the Palestinians, and since Hamas took over, Egypt has shut that border down. And the reason for that is simple. Egypt doesn't want to be responsible for all of these refugees. They just don't want them. What do they do with a bunch of Palestinian refugees? They're now in Egypt, and Egypt has to worry about where they are. Are they clothed, housed, fed? So you see the issues from Egypt's standpoint really clearly. But they're the other player in the Arab world that could do something. They border Gaza with Israel. So Kim's right. Where does everybody go? They go to these displacement camps that are set up by the UN, but you just can't get that many people out of there so quickly. I'm very concerned about Lebanon and essentially Hezbollah becoming involved and another front on this war. So nothing good happening. Randy said it's been reported by NPR this morning that Hamas is preventing people from leaving northern Gaza. And Hamas is a terrorist group. And I say that in the sense that Hamas wants to see civilians involved. They went after Israeli civilians, unarmed Israeli civilians. They mowed them down. They went door to door. They beheaded children, infants. They shot in cold blood everybody they saw. They rooted them out. It was straight up Holocaust stuff. And as a terrorist group, they don't value civilians except as a bargaining chip. And civilians being in that area, they embed their infrastructure in civilian areas historically. They always have, and they've done it in the Gaza Strip. So I think you see that played out by what's happening now. Of course, they don't want civilians leaving because civilians are their cover. And I don't believe that they value those civilian lives to the point that they want to protect them. So I know it's a pretty heavy few minutes, but this is a very heavy thing. And there's one last thing I want to say. Right now, America is outraged by what's happened. I'm talking about by the savagery and the brutality and the wanton violence of Hamas. And so they share the outrage, the righteous outrage of the Israelis. When a war starts, and it's going to start probably this weekend, I think America will be there. You've heard it. It's bipartisan. But I think as the war gets drawn out, I'm curious, how long will the American public be there? Look at what's happened on Ukraine. Everybody was, got to stop him, any way we can, got to stop Putin. And as the conflict has drawn on and Ukraine has been decimated by all of this, American support has waned. So I really wonder, I literally don't know, but my guess is that the stomach for war and supporting wars on the part of the American public is not going to be there in a few months. And as I told John Rothman the other day, and he said, you're absolutely right, which is, from Rothman, I feel, who knows the region pretty well, and I feel I can repeat it, with confidence. And that is the idea that you're going to go in, I don't care how many bombers you have, and I don't care how many troops you have, and you're going to root out Hamas, good luck. It's more than a long weekend, okay? And it's more than a month, and it's more than 2 months, and it even is more than 3 months. There are a lot of nooks and crannies and administrative aspects to Hamas. They're a terrorist organization. They can set up anywhere. I'd love to see them rooted out. I just don't know how it's going to go. So, Albert, help me. I've spoken too long, and on this Friday, the first day of our second year, Albert, take charge, Albert. Come on.
Whoever is producing this thing has no idea what they're doing.
You have a host who spoke too long. What do you do, Albert? Do you go to Kim with a news capsule, and then we do Friday Fabulous Florida?
Yeah, I think a quick. Sorry, Kim, to put you pressure on you, but yeah, we got to.
It's okay.
I'm
used to it.
Okay.
Kim, how are you?
And the videos after Kim's news, you'll roll them, and then and I'll jump in with Florida, and Daly will join us next as well. All right. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
I got an email about the likes. I think it was Tom who wrote me and said, I'm very disappointed with the number of likes you have. You've got so many, thousands of views, and you only have 700 likes. So that's just the way it is. Actually, we have a pretty solid number of likes. I'm very happy with it. But smash it with your iron rod. And Florida next. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards. That's right. Yeah. Let's start with what Mark was just talking about moments ago, some updated information. Hamas urging citizens of Northern Gaza to ignore Israeli orders to leave the region. Israel has massed well over 300,000 troops near the border, raising speculation of an imminent ground assault. Teams of Israeli ground forces are already inside Gaza. A journalist with Reuters has been killed during rocket fire on the Lebanon-Israel border today. Republican presidential candidates Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley are both ripping former President Donald Trump after the former president praised the Iran-backed terrorist group Hezbollah. You've got to think, what the hell is he thinking now? I don't know. At a rally on Wednesday, Trump called the group based in southern Lebanon an ally of Hamas very smart. This was after Hamas fighters brutally attacked Israel last Saturday. And House Republicans scrambling to pick the next Speaker of the House, Steve Scalise dropped out of the race for the gavel Thursday night after failing to secure the required number of votes. The GOP lawmakers are now meeting behind closed doors for a third straight day, and Republican Austin Scott of Georgia is seeking the House speakership, setting up an alternative to Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio. A repeat of the largest healthcare strike in American history may have been averted. Details not fully known, but Kaiser and its union workers have agreed on a tentative agreement. After 2 months of little change, consumer sentiment down sharply. University of Michigan's early reading for October fell about 7%. And
that's wild, given the fact that the inflation numbers are actually encouraging. Although, again, you have to take out price of gas, and you have to,
Yep. Nearly all income groups posted a decline in sentiment due to high prices. That's what it was. Yeah. A section of major thoroughfare in Los Angeles getting a new designation celebrating a growing ethnic population. The Los Angeles City Council approved the naming of Pico Boulevard between Arlington and Westmoreland Avenues as the Oaxacan Corridor. The motion instructs the Department of Transportation to post ceremonial signs within the month. So there you go. The Oaxacan Corridor on Pico Boulevard. 7 more patients, are suing a Yale fertility clinic because of the theft of fentanyl that led to operations without any painkillers. The 7 patients are joining nearly 70 others who previously sued the Yale Reproductive Endocrinology and Infertility Clinic. And speaking of money, earlier about consumer sentiment, Wells Fargo is posting better than predicted third quarter profits thanks to consumers paying higher interest rates. So we're paying more, but you know who's getting rich? Yeah. And a prison in Minnesota, lastly, is opening up a supervised tattoo parlor. Corrections officials are hoping the new program will help keep inmates healthier and provide them with a skill. at the tattoo parlor in the prison. The goal is to reduce infections and illness caused by tattooing done without proper equipment and sanitary precautions. The Department of Corrections also hopes the program will provide inmates with a marketable skill that they can use when they're released. So now we can all get prison tattoos.
So the prisoner that is serving time now, maybe the prisoner giving you body ink in a couple of years is the point. Once his time is up or her time is up.
That's right. You know, I mean, hey, we all got to have a job, right?
Right on, kid.
Right on indeed. This report is sponsored by the incredibly kind and lovely people at Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. And I have to say, you know, they have the grape stomp at Tenuta, right?
Oh, yeah, like it's like I Love Lucy grape stomp.
I Love Lucy grape stomp, that's right. Here's a picture of the flights of wine out at Tenuta and the beautiful vineyards in the back. But, so, update from Rich at Tenuta Vineyards. The grape stomp on October 15th and 29th are sold out. But they say they still have a few spots open for October 22nd. And now it's so popular that they have added November 5th and November 12th. So, you can still do the grape stomp, but the new dates available are October 22nd, November 5th, and November 12th. It's a catered luncheon and a grape stomp and a great way to get into the autumn spirit.
This
and
is
you get
no picnic, no summer camp.
It actually is, it is a
it's
picnic.
both.
It is a picnic and it's like summer camp. So that's,
It's all of the
exactly
above.
wrong, that drop. Yeah.
10% off of this event and wine and whatever else you can find there to buy. It's all yours because you're a part of the Mark Thompson Show community.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
Now that there is alcohol involved. Yeah.
You call Rich at Tenuta Vineyards and you say, smash it with your iron rod. And he gives you 10% off.
Smash
The phone
it
number is
with your iron rod.
Thank you. 925-699-4576. I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
Albert.
That's right.
Happy anniversary, Mark, Kim, Tony, Albert, and fabulous former producer John Daly. Like so many others, I rely on you guys for my sanity every day and appreciate you so much. I was devastated that day I turned on the radio and heard the pre-recorded whatever nonsense that you weren't there anymore, just totally crushed. So I'm so glad to have you guys back in my life, and a happy 1-year anniversary and many, many more. And in the spirit of keeping it classy, take it away, Mannequin Peace.
I love that. It sounded like somebody was peeing, but and
it did.
Indeed,
I was like, "What is she doing?"
The whole time she's speaking, I'm thinking, God, is she peeing right now while she's talking to us? This is outrageous. And then she
really
turned,
funny.
and sure enough, the guy. It was.
There's never been anything like this.
There's never been anything like it. That was
You just woo.
That was great. That was really great. Nice
She's
job.
really funny. Love it.
Let's welcome a man. He was invoked, whatever they say.
Yeah.
What was the thing on the debate? If you're invoked, you'll get 30 seconds to rebut. Here he is, fabulous producer John Daly.
Fabulous producer John Daly.
John Daly, everybody. He helped keep things going last night.
Excuse me. My name was invoked. My name's Ramaswamy. What's his name? Ramaswamy. I need more time. Smarmy. I need more time. Excuse me. My name was invoked.
Albert, make sure that we can hear John Daly okay. I can't tell whether the levels are right or not. John, we're a little behind, but we're excited to have your input on another episode of Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
We start in Marion County, Florida. This is at the Quick King gas station, everybody. That's a great backdrop for something weird to happen.
Get your Powerball tickets.
It's there in Ocala on Northeast 36th Avenue. John can tell you where that is if you need it. Florida woman arrested. She threw a sausage and a Coke can at the gas station cashier.
Wow.
There at the Quick King. Apparently,
the sausages are for. I'm just saying.
Deja Cobb is her name. And apparently, according to the cashier, and she has a lovely booking photo. I want to say it's a gorgeous smile. I'm really a little disappointed that Deja Cobb is apparently turned into someone who has embraced a life of lawlessness because her smile is quite gorgeous.
Yeah.
But anyway, the cashier says that the whole thing started when she confronted the cashier, saying that she could have handled her 2 transactions at once instead of taking them separately. Really? That's what they were arguing about? God,
that's the problem?
Culture is absolutely on edge. That's when the 2 reportedly turned into shouting racial slurs at one another. Oh, that's great. I mean, it's, whenever you can get right to the racial slurs, that just ups the ante, And then that's when Cobb grabbed a sausage from the hot tray and the tongs and hurled them both, sausage and tongs, at the cashier.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
That's not a projectile, no.
The sausage hit the cashier in the right wrist and the tongs in the right leg.
Ow.
Cobb then left the store.
Good day, sir.
Right, well.
What happened to I thought she threw a Coke can at the person, too.
It's not over.
Oh.
She went outside and grabbed a sausage off the floor that had rolled out and threw it at Cobb's car. That was for the cashier who did that. Cobb then, angry that her car had been hit by this sausage, she retaliated by throwing the Coke in the can that she had just purchased. And the same sausage that had hit her car, she picked it up and threw it at the cashier. Does everybody have a clean visual on this? I think they do.
I'm seeing hot dogs flying.
The soda can hit the counter and the cashier, and she was arrested. And as I say, she's so pretty. Man.
This reminds me of a daily, barbecue, like a daily family barbecue.
People, it disintegrates into people throwing sausages at each other. Wow. Well, that's the story there. The woman who was driving a patrol car that wasn't really a patrol car, she's under arrest. She
like a fake cop car?
Yeah, exactly. She styled out her car to look like a Florida trooper vehicle. And while conducting a traffic stop in northwest Miami-Dade, 2 Florida Highway Patrol troopers say they saw a black and tan Dodge Charger with a light bar on its roof traveling north on State Route 826.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
You've gone to a lot of expense to make this happen. What does it say on the side?
It says
FSO guard.
FSO guard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Florida State something. And they have a little insignia there next to it resembling a police department badge. Well, that is illegal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Troopers quickly finished their traffic stop. They got in the car and they pulled over the 28-year-old who was driving this car. It was a woman. Usually guys like to take the Crown Vics and they dress them up. And, the old cop cars are oftentimes, they were purchased by dudes. But this is a woman who had it. When questioned, the troopers say that the woman who is from Hollywood, Florida, first said that her vehicle already had the trooper color scheme when she purchased it from a car auction. But after the troopers told her that FHP doesn't sell any of its used units with the same color scheme, she then said that she had her North Miami-based security company vehicle wrapped in black and tan because she had seen FHP's patrol units and fell in love with the color scheme. Yeah. Well, she can fall in love with the color scheme from prison. She was arrested, accused of operating a motor vehicle with no registration. Oh, it got worse. So,
did they take her car, their car, or her car? Like, how did they get to jail?
Yeah. Should we take
We've been
yours?
looking for it. We'll impound it and put it as part of the fleet.
Oh, too good. Former Illinois police chief caught shoplifting from the Walmart in our favorite Florida place, the Villages.
The police chief did it.
Previously on the Villages.
Corrupt police chief. It seems as old as time itself. A former cop from Illinois, now retired in the Villages, caught shoplifting from a Walmart. There he is, Christopher Rads. He was arrested and charged with larceny, petty theft for the incident. Apparently,
He looks like Kenny Rogers.
He does have a little Kenny Rogers pre-plastic surgery look. I agree with you.
Yeah.
The 59-year-old man spotted by a loss prevention officer. You know what do they used to call them?
Security guard.
Yeah, they called them. You know, like they're undercover. You know, whatever.
Right.
Loss prevention officer now is what they call them. And he's picking up several items from a display there at Walmart, putting them into a Walmart plastic bag, passing all the points of sale, and leaving without trying to pay for the items. Boy, in San Francisco, they just call that Monday. You know what I mean? That's not a big deal.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
Yeah, it's sort of one of those things.
Is there a law that all police officers and police chiefs have to have facial hair?
It is preferred, I think.
Yeah.
I can't believe a police chief would do that. I mean, for what? You for a few dollars of free stuff? He knows the repercussions.
Yeah.
Morning.
Yeah. Repercussions is a ding word. You're right. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, he might have. I don't know. I can't get into his head. I can't. The head of a criminal is so filled with these thoughts.
I'm surprised he didn't claim that he was doing research.
Yeah.
I wanted to see how secure it was.
The news, they went, of course, to his old employer. The news surrounding his arrest is something I'm surprised to hear. It's out of character for Chris.
It's the
I
water
worked with
at
him
the
for more than a
Villages.
decade. The actions described in the media are not representative of who we know him to be.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Yeah, exactly.
Who you thought he was.
It's a Florida woman is arrested after a 7-year-old child calls 911 to report her drug overdose.
Wow.
The drug overdose of this is awful. This is Sumterville, Florida. But it's weird how things happen. Florida woman arrested. Child neglect charges were the charges she's ultimately facing. She overdosed in the same house as the two children who could have had access to a syringe, according to authorities. Candace Alderman arrested and charged with 2 counts of child neglect. Remains unclear if the 2 children at Alderman's home were her own. She was reported as the caretaker and direct guardian of them. When the deputies got there, the 39-year-old woman was unresponsive. She was not breathing normally, difficult to wake up, did not become responsive until a deputy, executed the sternum rubs and assisted her out of bed. When she regained consciousness, she was escorted outside, and they began medical treatment. The bedroom was filled with, syringes and right there on the nightstand, all that stuff, easily accessible to both children.
How long before her kids enter the criminal justice system, become new Florida men?
Yeah, exactly.
Sad.
You're right.
That's so sad.
It really is. It really is. Sometimes it goes the other way, though, John. You can grow up in that environment and you go, I want no part of it.
Right.
That's see my positive spin. It's a new Mark.
You sound
It's
like
a new
Kim
Mark.
now.
Yeah.
We don't like that. It's positivity.
Florida man said that he'll help Satan kill the sheriff's helicopter crew.
Here we go.
Yeah,
now we're talking Florida.
Wild idea, but it just might work.
Well, a man who was previously arrested for threatening to shoot down a sheriff's office helicopter was arrested again after lurking around the hangar and making disturbing statements to the crew. He really was following through on it. The threats and statements made this time were a step further than the large sign and vulgar language that he has used before. He's taking his game up a notch. Over the weekend, 59-year-old Robert Money, he doesn't have the great. We have a mugshot of him right now. He looks like a guy who might be up to no good. But
I love the no shirt mugshot too.
I was gonna say why is he nude? Usually they have the striped shirt on the guy, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he's like an intern. He's like a skinhead intern. It's like his first day.
Yeah, it could be part of a skinhead program. You're right. It's like, thank you. It's like a starter program for skinheads.
Yeah, he's looking for a razor. Step 2.
He wanted everybody to see in his booking photo how jacked he is.
Before he gets the tats.
Over the weekend, the 59-year-old again was charged with 3 counts of aggravated stalking, they call it, of the Air One crew from Volusia County Sheriff's Office. While making the threat of the devil is going to kill you and I'm going to help. Those were literally his words.
Wow.
He was repeatedly screaming at crew members, accusing them of being evil and giving him concussions when they fly over his home. Apparently, he lives close to the hangar. He is known to that group, and I guess he's now taken his intimidation to another level. The crew is calling it a really disturbing thing. They call it emotional. It produced emotional distress in them, and so he's now in custody. A Florida woman. What?
Steve says, "No shoes, no shirt, no Satan."
That's yeah, Satan not wanted here.
Yeah, maybe that's Satan's dress code. He's like, lose the clothes.
Yeah,
it's going to be hot.
It feels on
really
brand.
hot.
Feels very on brand for Satan. A Florida woman breezes past the Walmart checkout because she thought the guard was trying to holler at her, she says.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Yeah. So she's taken a page out of the former sheriff or police chief's book when it comes to Walmart purchases. This is in Marion County, Florida. We're showing you this woman now. Again, really pretty. What's going on with you pretty people? Step up your game. She was arrested for leaving Walmart without paying for her items because she thought that the security guard was trying to, quote, holler at her.
That's what they do when you're stealing stuff.
Yeah.
When you're just so hot and you're, going through the self-checkout, she's dealt with this so many times. It's really difficult.
I don't know exactly what happened, but she is saying that her excuse, which I think is a little bit thin, involved yelling back and forth at the security guard. Surveillance footage shows that she was walking around the store for about 3 hours. Wow, 3 hours at a Walmart that's like prison time to me.
Yeah.
Before walking into the tire center, she passed several cash registers and left the store. As she was walking toward the exit, the asset protection specialist,
whoop, whoop.
Store detective is the words I was looking for before. That's what they called them. They used to call them store detectives.
Store detective.
Yeah.
Mark Thompson. Store
Ask you a couple of questions, store detective. Asset protection specialist tried to talk to her, telling her several times to go back inside. They gave her a chance.
Oh, wow. They don't
she
usually
was
do that.
Mirandized, which I suppose would be a ding word.
Stealing, is that your final answer? No.
She told deputies the security guard started talking to her, but she thought he was trying to holler, so she ran out of the store. That's the reason she didn't pay for stuff. Well, it's a story, but I think it's kind of a thin story. Now we close Florida with this from Jacksonville. The announcing. Are we going to run this, Albert? Albert?
I'm lining it up. Sorry, I'm like switching.
No, I'm just one, but we are going to run it, right? So this is the announcement on Jacksonville television that there has been $1 million jackpot winner.
A Jacksonville man just won $1 million jackpot from a scratch-off where he bought the winning ticket.
What is great to me about this is the other anchor.
Jackpot from a scratch-off.
Show it to him again. He's brilliant. The other
just won $1 million jackpot from a scratch-off.
Like,
I feel that there's a drop there, probably.
Jacksonville man just won $1 million jackpot from a scratch-off.
He's thinking, where can I get this?
$1 million jackpot.
Wow, really?
That's a really expensive one.
What is the competition for the favorite so far in the chat? Let me just review. Review all of the stories. We don't like to pick a favorite. We don't want to pick a favorite. The bylaws of the show require that we pick a favorite. Florida woman with the sausage tossing, remember? And the Coke can, the sausage, the back and forth. The Florida woman also. I mean, I like that there were a lot of misbehaving women in today's Florida.
Yeah,
Florida woman charged with driving what looks like a highway patrol car. She had a story, then she changed her story.
Yeah.
The former Illinois cop, he's a police chief, caught shoplifting from Walmart in the Villages. The Florida woman arrested after her 7-year-old called 911 to report her drug overdose. The Florida woman Florida man says he'll help Satan kill the sheriff's helicopter crew.
That's a pretty good one, yeah.
The Florida woman who breezes into Walmart, hangs out for 3 hours, and breezes out of Walmart without paying for anything. And finally, the Florida news anchor that said a man won the $1 million. What? What is your, what's leading in the chat, Albert?
I'm still setting it up, so
okay.
Give me a couple.
What will be the competition?
I have sausage party, former police chief, and women steal from stores. What's another one? Maybe the $1 million what?
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
So that's what's in the chat. You can vote for your favorite. And if you're watching in replay, let us know what you vote for, what your favorite is. Again, the bylaws of the show require it. We have to keep. We're quite meticulous about what those votes are. Now, John, if you could let me know what you feel is your favorite of the group that we just heard.
I'm partial to the $1 million jack off. That's just because I sent that in. But I think I have to go with sausage toss.
Sausage toss, sure.
If I had to option one of these for a production, it would be the sausage toss. Yeah.
Let me get my credibility glasses. These are my backup credibility glasses. Let me see. Satan helicopter guy, although he's lacking a lot of face tattoos, says Jim. It's true.
Yeah, it's like an incomplete Halloween costume. He didn't go all the way.
Jack off Lotto, sausage, Satan, says William Lundgren. Jack off versus sausage war is a tough one. I agree. Commentator is right. This is a tough one. Satan Chopper, says Tom. How about you, Kim? What do you think is your favorite?
It's very difficult because
Kim, how are you?
I think that sausage toss has a lot of promise. I feel like the helicopter Satan is very, very Florida. But as a news person, I have to go with the flub because it's everyone's worst nightmare. Although I don't think it's specifically Florida, I think I have to go with the anchor person. So I'm going to say
great, the
$1 million what? Yeah, I'm going for that one.
Albert, what is leading now in the poll, please?
I'm having trouble with the polls. For some reason, YouTube isn't letting me post the poll, but we got a lot of votes. I have Michael Shore's vote too. He's voting for, actually, this is also my vote, shoplifting in the villages, because
the villages.
I love that we have a whole bunch of crime happening in the villages. We had some guys selling some fake ED pills last week too.
That's right. That's
I'm looking for. I might add that to my algorithm into the Florida story research.
It is. It's an upcoming series.
Yeah.
Wait, do we have hanging chads there? There's Florida after all.
Yeah.
I think it's a. I'm guessing it's a pretty.
Hand count the ballots now.
I'm guessing it's a right-leaning community, but I don't really know. In any case, apparently there's lawlessness on a level that we weren't aware of. The villages, they're not what they used to be.
And just looking at the comment section right now, it looks like a lot of sausage from both the news anchor and the actual fight in the voting here.
I feel like Satan Chopper has promise, but the script is weak. It needs work.
$1 million Jaguar versus sausage toss seems like they share the same category. That's from
they all look like the same vote right now, to be honest.
Yeah. I do think for just pure slapstick fun, where nobody really got hurt, I love a good sausage toss plus a Coke can thrown in.
Like you could hear the music in the background.
You heard the Benny Hill music? Absolutely right. That's Friday Fabulous Florida for today.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
John, it was a pleasure to have you with us last night, and a pleasure to have you here today. Always
happy anniversary, MTS.
Love having you in the mix. Thanks for helping us get this whole thing started, pal. And looking forward to seeing you on your show, the After Party Live.
Crap, there's a show. I gotta go prep that show.
Yeah, go prep that show. John Daly, everybody.
Bye, John Daly.
All right, we got a lot to do.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Let's do it. We want to get right to everything going on. These two guys are so generous. Michael was with us last night for the virtual meetup. Popped in for a few minutes, and it was really cool, and there were a lot of questions for him. And he's with us now. He's forgotten more about politics than most of us will ever know. He's the great Michael Shure, everybody.
Great. It was nice. It was nice going solo. I have to say,
Yeah, you shook that Avila guy loose and were able to just kind of spread your wings. This guy's the former senior news correspondent at ABC News, covered the White House for ABC, was their White House correspondent for years, and his takes are just so terrific. Jim Avila, everyone.
Well, I was glad to give Michael time to shine. I apologize for missing it. I was in an airport.
Well, we had a couple of I'm hearing an echo. Oh, you got it. Okay, good. We had a couple of screw ups along the way. But we in general had a really great. And if you were in the chat, you didn't know what you didn't know type thing. But anyway, it's great to have you guys here, especially on this extremely eventful week. I guess I want to start with the pure politics. So I'm going to, even though I feel the urgency of the Middle Eastern situation, and I want to talk to you about America's disposition toward that war. And over time, I was saying that may change. But what I'd like to start with is what's happening in the House of Representatives with the GOP. This has been a wild week during which both Jordan and Scalise stepped up as potential House speakers, and neither one could garner the votes to get it going. Scalise, I guess, was able to garner more support than was Jim Jordan. Speak to this situation, Jim, if you would, please.
Well, it's sort of, deja vu all over again. They can't really get it together. When you have only a 5-vote majority, or 4 votes, I think it's down to now, and you can't get 8 of your colleagues on the Republican side to agree to be moderate in any way, then it really is impossible. I think, if I were to guess, I think the Democrats are going to come over to rescue in some fashion. They're going to have to either find a way to find a moderate that they can all get behind, and with some guarantees from the Republican majority about what won't happen. I think they'll want to get rid of that one person can remove the speaker or call for a vote to remove the speaker. They'll get rid of that. They'll probably get some kind of agreement to keep the government open. And then maybe I'm living in fantasy land, but all this might be a good thing. This might be, where it leads somehow to the miracle of bipartisanship, strained bipartisanship, but perhaps they can find some middle ground here and isolate those on the far right and maybe some on the far left and play to the middle a bit. But that probably is a fantasy in my mind.
Michael?
Yeah, I think if they're going to if there's going to be bipartisanship, it's going to require the Republicans putting someone up there who certain Democrats, who Hakeem Jeffries can go to his caucus on the Democratic side and tell people to vote present. There's not going to be a Democrat who votes for the Republican Speaker of the House. But if you can get a certain number of them to vote present, it brings the threshold down that such a nominee would need. But there are very few people that would be palatable enough for some of these Democrats, including Jeffries, to risk. They like seeing the other side twist in the wind in this way. And I think what the optimistic thing here is in marginalizing the far extreme of a caucus, and that if you go through with this and too much of this happens and it starts hurting Republicans are going to start seeing that working to appease those people is not in their best interest. That's what could be possible. Jim Jordan's running again. Jim Jordan lost in a secret ballot to Steve Scalise, who couldn't get enough support so he had to drop out, which should indicate that Jim Jordan has even less support. So there are a number of people who won't vote for Jordan. He's certainly not a consensus builder. They're going to have to find somebody. I heard the name Mike Gallagher of Ohio today as a possibility. People who might be able to bridge the divide, not between right and left, but between moderate and ultra-conservative in the Republican conference. It's going to be a tough thing to do. One of the I keep saying Garrett Graves, who was one of the soldiers for Kevin McCarthy, might in fact be someone who's palatable to both sides. He's from the South, from Louisiana, and he is someone that Democrats find to be more reasonable as well. I haven't heard his name at all, that's except from me, but I do know that that's the kind of person that they would have to try and get around if they're going to get some Democrats to vote present.
What about this notion that they could modify the temporary speakership such that they could still move through, for example, a bill to support Israel or whatever it might be? There's that's a kind of bipartisan issue right at the moment.
The temporary speaker, Patrick McHenry, the speaker pro tem, doesn't want that and doesn't path for that. I mean, again, like when these things happen, everybody talks about every possibility, from Donald Trump being speaker to changing the rules of the House. Changing the rules of the House, not so easy either. You're going to have to get support from lots of different people to do it. You can't really do it by fiat. So I think that in order to get that done, you would have to be appealing to a lot of the people that aren't complaining about the stalemate.
Yeah, I think the only way out, despite all these other wild ideas, is to find a moderate Republican that did not say that the election was a fraud or voted against Biden on January 6th. You have to find somebody who clears that hurdle. Then you have to find somebody who is moderate enough that it doesn't scare the Democrats away. And the Democrats have to make sure that they get a bunch of agreements that give them some power.
I don't see that. Yeah, I just don't see that happening. I mean, these were both, they nominated Jordan and Scalise. Scalise was the moderate in that crowd, and Jordan, both of whom voted not to certify the election.
Well, I don't think any Democrat was going to vote for a guy who said he was David Duke without the robes.
No, of course they wouldn't. But they're not. I don't think the Republicans, and they should be operating to curry favor with the Democrats here. I think they have to figure their own mess out, and I think that's what the Democrats think. But that may be the only way to a speaker, and if that's the case,
they're calling each other names now, Michael. I mean, the moderates in the Republican Party are calling the 8 right-wing nuts. They're calling them wing nuts. I mean, they're calling them out. I mean, there's some real damage. There's no sign of any kind of agreement amid the Republican Party, and maybe that'll change, but I don't see it. And I think
there are 221 of them or 222 of them, something like that. There's going to be somebody in that group who's saying nothing right now, and one of those people, I suspect, will be the people. Maybe one of them is calling Jim now, but one of those will be the people that are going to come out of this. I would imagine. And there's Tom Emmer and there's Tom Cole, both of whom are part of leadership there. And eventually they're going to turn to somebody who's elder statesman enough that they can just get a speaker in there.
Prediction from both of you, maybe, how long this will go on? How long will the GOP exist in the House without a speaker? Michael, your prediction.
My prediction is that a week from today they'll have a speaker.
Jim?
Well, I think it'll be right up to the time when they have to do it, when the government again gets ready to shut down, whatever that date is.
That's a month. I mean, that's a long time. I think they're getting pressure to be there to do something about Israel and to appropriate. They don't want to lose that issue, and their infighting is costing them on that. I do think that it would be sooner than the budget stuff, sooner than the domestic stuff.
Well, the reason why I say the budget is because it seems to me that the budget is the only thing with a firm deadline.
True, that's true.
Ukraine can be pushed down the road, and that's what they will continue to do as long as they can. So that's why I think the budget is the outline.
Right.
On some level, the love for America's support of Ukraine has now shifted and has ebbed a bit, but the importance of supporting Israel in this moment seems to have robust support, both sides of the aisle. I wonder if this is a long, awful conflict, which it will be, I think, what the stomach for continuing that support might be. Maybe I'm skipping way ahead in the movie, and maybe it's not important, but I think it's instructive to see what happened with Ukraine and now to look at Israel. There's the same imperative that America feels, having seen the barbarism that Hamas was behind. And I think that's fueling a lot of this support. And I know it's not universal, but there's a lot of it. In Congress, it would seem, pretty solid. Jim?
Well, I think the relationship between the United States and Israel being our only strong ally in that part of the world, and perhaps the strongest ally we have in the world because of our demographics. We have a lot of Jews in this country, and they're never going to stand for us turning our back on Israel. And I think in general, the public sees the Israelis as the good guys in this. There is an argument that, and a strong argument that Israel, especially of late, has abused their power in Palestine, in Gaza. But overall, I don't think that support's going to waver myself. I think that you'll have some voices come out from the left. You already have a bit, but the level of atrocity that went on in Gaza and in Israel really prevents this from fading away, I think, in our minds. And our media is all over it, much more than they're all over Ukraine, even though Ukraine was big in the press. There is no room for this to fade in any foreseeable future that I see. It's unfortunate that we can't use this to find a path to some kind of peace, and that we have to escalate in such a fashion that more on both sides are going to die. This is not good. We're not really attacking the problem. The real problem is Iran, and instead we're attacking people who are innocent people in Gaza, the innocent people in Gaza, and that's really a problem.
Michael, your thoughts? I mean, I'm just a note on that. I mean, that this is
yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, I was
No,
it's a terrorist organization like Hamas that deliberately embeds itself around civilians. That's why, even as there are calls for more than 1 million people to get out of Northern Gaza, Hamas is saying, don't anybody go anywhere. We're staying here. I think there are a couple of reasons behind that, but one of them is certainly that civilians are kind of a part of the shielding of Hamas in many ways. So civilians being everywhere is a good thing as far as Hamas is concerned. But go ahead, Michael, please.
And Jim apparently hiring extras for his wife.
Don't make fun of my sick mother, Michael.
No, I was lovely to see her. I wish mine were here in the background. What Jim says is obviously true. You also Jewish Americans are 2.5 or less % of the U.S. population. It's that there are a lot of Republicans and a lot of Christians that have an interest that is even sometimes a little duplicitous in that area. And it's why the Republicans are so frustrated not to be able to speak about this and to legislate about this and to draw the line between the differing aid for Ukraine and Israel right now. What it does give them time to do inadvertently is see what Israel's response is. If it's too much for the world, then the Republicans and the Congress has not been a part of that. I think there's not going to be a great appetite for massive death anywhere, but certainly not in Gaza, knowing the circumstances and even knowing what provoked it this time. So it's a tricky political play right now. Israel is always going to be a winner in the U.S. Congress. There's no doubt about it. But it's but at a time when they're not, when they may be doing things that a lot of Americans find distasteful, and funding of which a lot of Americans may find distasteful, the Republicans and the House may be able to get a pass on that.
And where Israel is not always a winner is in the UN and among the other parts of the world. Israel has been sanctioned by the UN, and we've always vetoed it in the United States. So they do have to be careful. The key word in all this response, while it's justified, is surgical. A mass killing of people in Gaza will not be accepted by most people in this country, I think, and around the world. And they have to be careful about that. That's why I continue to advocate. And, this is dangerous, I realize. But I think Russia is busy. I think China will turn its back. And I think this is the opportunity for Israel, backed by the United States, to take some kind of surgical action against the real problem, which is Iran. I've spoken to, I live in Beverly Hills, and Beverly Hills is known as Tehran of the West. And these are people who have escaped Iran. And they really believe that if there is some kind of push to get it started, that the people of Iran are tired of this theocracy government there and will in fact revolt. Now, is that dangerous as all heck? Yeah, it is, because we tried the same thing in Baghdad and in Afghanistan, and we see what happens.
Well, the same thing was done in Iran. I mean, when the Shah left, that's how you ended up with a theocracy.
Well, but he certainly abused his power. There has to be somebody they choose, not that the CIA chooses. That was the biggest problem.
One day Iranians who are living in America in Beverly Hills will be right about this, but they've said this very often at different times over the last 15 to 20 years. So might it happen this time? Well, Antony Blinken, Secretary of State, is in Israel now. He's being very careful on Iran. He's saying, that right now they're holding back the $6 billion for the hostage deal that was made. It's not money that was Iranian money or American money that taxpayers paid for. And Iran, they see no fingerprints or no knowledge about what happened in Hamas, but they say the jury is still out on that. So they're being careful about that because they don't want to provoke another conflict there.
Yeah,
they're being careful for good reason, and they're being quiet for good reason. If they decide to do this, it's going to be decided in a very quiet way between the United States and Israel, and it should be, in my opinion, it should be a surgical attacks on their nuclear capabilities, take them out, and if they know where their leaders are, take them out. But not a mass invasion. This could be done with the weapons that the United States and Israel has. The danger, of course, is what will Russia say? What will China say? I contend that right now Russia's too busy in Ukraine, and their military is so stretched that this would be the opportunity.
It's such an audacious move, honestly. I mean, I know it's been preceded by an audacious move once before when Israel took out a nuclear plant, but I just wonder if that's not really even a surgical, I mean, as you described, kind of a surgical strike wouldn't just widen this conflict immensely. But obviously, there's now shelling going on in Lebanon. You get, Hezbollah is going to become involved. It's really an area that's teetering, and now
but it's all Iranian backed, and you got to, if you're going to strike the monster, strike at the head, and this. Anyway, look, I concede all the objections that are put up. I understand. I'm not saying it's the answer. I'm saying it's something that should be considered. And this slow response of taking on Hezbollah at one point and taking on Hamas at another point, that is much more difficult on the ground in Gaza than it is to use our superiority in weapons against a place like Iran.
As we finish up, guys, I want to ask you about the presidential race and just how you square things these days, week to week. We've been looking at it. I know it's still probably a bit early. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has entered the race. You've both talked about how independents can influence an election. Our pal Cenk has declared, I think he's trying more than anything to get Biden not to run, And I wonder if you can just speak to sort of the state of the state. And Nikki Haley is rising in the polls. What do you think, Michael? Give us an assessment.
I think none of the three people you mentioned just now matter to the race. I think that the president will run until he decides not to run. But every day that he is running, it's more likely that he is going to. He's also busy presidenting right now and arguably doing a good job as judged by the people who do that judging in terms of making sure that America is immersed in this conflict in a way that is diplomatic and solution based, and criticizing where they need to and not when they don't. So it gives the president a chance to do that. And then, Trump is still the de facto leader. How well Nikki Haley is doing has no impact on the presidential race. I don't think she would be his choice for a vice presidential nominee. And I don't know if her appeal is just because she's running with 8 people who don't have a lot of appeal. I don't know. It's a race that is led by the 2 people that are leading it. I think RFK Jr., and this is more than anecdotal, but still I would say anecdotal. When I'm on the road talking to Republicans, they all say that they find him palatable, which is not, does not help Donald Trump. So if he peels votes away, I'd have to think that he's peeling more votes away from Trump voters. I think that there may be a chance that he would peel black voters away from Democrats, though.
And don't you think young demographic sparks to RFK Jr., Michael?
No, I don't.
Not particularly? No? Okay.
Not particularly. I don't think any demographic sparks to him, really. I think that it's a disaffected demographic, people who don't like either of their choices or feel that may like Biden but feel he's too old, or may even like Trump's policies but don't want to get, bogged down in Trump himself. Those are the kind of people that would fall toward an independent candidate and have in the past. I don't know that there's enough of them. And I do think on balance it would hurt Trump more than it would hurt Biden, but I don't think it would be marked in either way.
The only reason I mention, and then Jim, I want to hear what you say, is because I think the thing that he does effectively is rail against the military-industrial complex, big oil, big pharma. He says, Democrats are in the pocket of big pharma, Republicans are in the pocket of big oil. These are the kinds of things that sometimes land with a younger demographic. That's why I asked. Jim, tell me, please, your assessment of things now.
Well, I don't think RFK is a danger to the Democrats. It's marginal. I think, as I agree with Michael, that it's the crazies, it's the people who believe COVID was a hoax, and those folks who are mostly come from the right side of the ledger. So I don't think he's more of a problem for Trump than he is for Biden. The only thing that's going to hurt Biden is if some mainstream Democrat decides they were in a meeting where he didn't do well, where Biden didn't do well. That's not happened. Every Democrat who's been in meetings with Biden say that he is sharp, understands the issues, is well studied. And look, I believe that he should step aside, and we've had that conversation before. But when you compare him to the deranged comments that you're getting out of Donald Trump, there's no comparison. Trump can't remember who he ran against. He keeps saying he ran against Obama, and he gets things wrong all the time. So, whereas, that's not the problem. Now, I think Nikki Haley is a factor, because I believe as we go along, and Trump has more and more legal issues, eventually there's going to be a tipping point. Let me just say, there may be a tipping point where enough Republicans say he's not going to win, and they're going to have to turn to somebody else. The least scary of those remaining is Nikki Haley. And she does appeal to the independents who will decide this election. If I was a Democrat, the only Republican I'd be worried about at this point is Nikki Haley. She comes off, I don't agree with hardly any of her policies, but she comes off as less scary. She is more reasonable sounding on abortion, more reasonable sounding on supporting Israel. She makes the others look like rookies, especially Vivek. DeSantis is just totally disassembled. And they're really, Chris Christie's never going to get the Republican vote because of his effort to take down Trump. So, and if she wins the Republican primary, or if there's some kind of brokered convention in the summer because Trump has been so damaged by his legal problems, then she becomes a factor, and I think she is a real danger to the Democrats.
Oh.
Yeah, I just want to add to that if if Trump is not a factor or is unable to run or falters or anything, and I've maintained that for a while, that none of these 8 people will be president, that someone else will come in and run. The convention will do that, or it'll happen before the primaries, and a governor is going to run and do better than these 8.
It's pretty astounding. I think it's a comment on right-wing media or the power of media generally, or the fractured nature of media, or the siloed nature, however you want to put it, that Trump can be as rhetorically reckless as he is, completely unhinged with just, when he goes off script, just riffing about the fact that he thinks Obama is actually pulling the strings on Biden. That's his latest thing. As you say, that he can't really keep anything straight. And yet, his movement in the polls is, as you said before, Jim, it's unshakable, the support, Again,
well,
I don't know.
He's getting some, in New Hampshire, there is some movement. It's not enough that he's going to lose. He's still ahead by 30 to 40 points. But I think, maybe I'm just too optimistic in these days, but I do think that these continued revelations of what he has done criminally and what he's done civilly with his company won't get to the 30% that Michael goes out and talks to on the road. But to the others, it might. And there are some Republicans who are very concerned about their own party. I mean, this election, if Trump wins the primary and goes on to the election and is massively defeated, which is possible, that election could really not just hurt Donald Trump, but the Republican Party in general. They'll lose the Senate, they'll lose the House, and they may lose elections in the foreseeable future.
Is George Santos going to be removed, Michael?
I would suspect he is. I think they're being careful because he doesn't really have anyone. I think some of these members of the Republican House, obviously nothing can happen because there's no speaker now, but none of these members of the Republican House want to see it happen necessarily because they might want to get his vote in this election. But I think he's done. And I think that, Steve Scalise doesn't even return his calls. And Santos said, I'm never going to vote for him because he won't reach out to me. Well, they're distancing themselves from him. Bob Menendez in the Senate has an additional indictment added. So at the end of next week, I think he's going to be brought before the courts. There are people on Capitol Hill who are in trouble. George Santos definitely one of them.
Guys, thank you. We've been on the air a year, and we went from KGO to this platform, and you guys have been here every Friday that you've been humanly able to make it. And I want you to know how grateful we all, and if you read the chats, you can see how everybody really appreciates your takes every week. Thank you very much.
It'd be nice if Jim showed up for the party.
Yeah, I know.
Jim Avila and Michael Shure, everybody. Thanks, guys.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Albert, you're the big cheese. What do you want to do now? What are we doing? Let's get a sense of the path you've charted for us.
Some news here. We have a ton of thank yous to say because we've gotten some donations throughout the show, so we should catch up on those.
Okay,
I don't know,
so
maybe we should do it now. Do you want to do it now?
Let's do those. Let me put my credibility glasses. These are my backup credibility glasses. I couldn't find my other ones.
Is it any more or less credible than the previous glasses, the original?
I think they're a little. I don't know. Courtney likes them. I hate them. They're so large, But
they got Clark Kent vibes. You take that off.
Oh, do they? Oh, okay. Well, maybe I should stay on. There you go. Yeah. This is it Dakers or Dakers 1977? Thank you for a super sticker. Love you, Dakers or Dakers. Yeah. Either way. Yeah. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
Linda, what up, Linda? 50, come on. I'm not going to cry, but the super sticker for 50 really gets me there.
Big shout out.
Thank you, Linda. So cool of you. Appreciate that. Dwayne Kennedy from City Shapers. Wait a minute. When I want my city shaped, I only go to one place. It's City Shapers in San Francisco. Damn it. Big shout out. And that's $100 for our anniversary. That's really cool, Dwayne. Thank you very much, City Shapers.
Thank you.
Yeah, you are the best. Wow. That's really, really cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. William Geip for a 3 spot. Thank you, William.
Big shout out.
Mm-hmm. And Angel in the Bay Area for a 10 spot. Hi, Jim's mom. Yeah,
out.
Jim's mom made a cameo during the Avila appearance. So very cool. Wow, that's really cool. Thank you, guys.
I wish we could have met her. I wish we would have brought her on to say hello.
You know, she just, I think she is, she fell and she hurt her hip, I think. So she's like not super mobile. So it was good to see her moving around. She's going to be okay, I think. But, you know.
Yeah.
But I'll put in the word that Kim would like her to be part of things. So yeah, that's good. Well, I wonder what would happen if Jim's mom came on, started talking, you know, got a little wordy, and Kim gave her the old, you know.
Never do that to the mom. Never. No.
Smash the like button like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Give us a thumbs up. It helps in the world of, you know, YouTube algorithms. Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster, next. But Albert, I wanted to ask you now, how many more videos do you have for today?
I have one more video. Let me check if we have any more. We have a ton of other emails and stuff. I don't know if we have enough time today, but we're going to get to those throughout the month. And
okay, cool. Yeah, the anniversary celebration continues. We'll run the next video after Kim's news. And as Albert says, we'll also share some emails and that kind of thing. Everybody's been so terrific. And we'll get to everything. We'll try to get to everything over time. So, again, Culture Blaster next. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report is sponsored by Coachella Valley Coffee at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Over in the Middle East, we have small Israeli army units now reportedly operating inside Gaza. Israeli defense forces are searching for Israeli and American hostages before an expected ground assault. Israel is ordering 1 million civilians to leave northern Gaza as troops and tanks mass near the border. Now concerns are also mounting that Iran-backed Hezbollah militants on Israel's northern border may join up with Hamas. Reports of scattered fighting between Hezbollah forces in Lebanon and the Israelis are growing. At least 3 Israeli soldiers and 3 Hezbollah militants have been killed this week in confrontations along the Lebanese border. Georgia Representative Austin Scott now jumping into the race for Speaker of the House. Scott's entry today makes him the only confirmed Republican candidate besides Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan at this time. Republicans are currently meeting to decide on a new nominee after Majority Leader Steve Scalise pulled out of the race last night. A lawsuit to keep Donald Trump off the 2024 presidential ballot in Florida will continue despite the former president's attempt to get it thrown out. A liberal watchdog group filed the suit claiming he should not be eligible for the ballot based on the 14th Amendment, forbidding insurrectionists from holding public office. Trump wanted the lawsuit thrown out on free speech grounds. The Port of Oakland is receiving part of a $7 billion federal funding grant to set up a hydrogen hub. The hub would eventually produce clean hydrogen energy and help California move away from fossil fuels. Hydrogen seen as a big contributor to decarbonizing the shipping industry.
Wow.
And this one from Michael Snyder, who's coming up next, our Culture Blaster. I don't think he's going to cover this movie, so I'll do it. Taylor Swift is proving to be a major draw at the movie theaters heading into the weekend. Her concert film, Taylor Swift: The Eras Tour, brought in nearly $3 million from preview screenings Thursday night. It is expected to earn somewhere between $100 and $125 million at the box office through Sunday. Everyone I know has already purchased tickets to this one. I'm telling you. Man.
What? Well, you went down to the Taylor Swift concert, waited in the car for hours while Taylor did her thing.
Yeah. And though my daughter was lucky enough, thanks to one of our viewers, to go see the show, she and her cousin will also be going to the movie. So this is the way it goes. So I'm one of the people that bought the tickets. There you have it.
Recreate the magic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's going to be, people are going to go, they're going to have so much fun, they're going to sing, it's so, and it might be a new era in concert in movies, because Beyonce is also putting out a movie of her concert. So maybe this is the new thing. If you can't afford
There's never been
ticket to
anything
the
like this.
gazillion-dollar concert ticket, you can always go see it at the movies, right?
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
This report is sponsored by, as I mentioned, Coachella Valley Coffee, another Mark Thompson exclusive deal. You check out the website. We know it's the best coffee in existence, and I'm telling you, the tea is amazing. Great customer service here as well. But you get the exclusive 10% off deal, and all you have to do at checkout is type in Mark T, all together, Mark T. You get your discount, and away you go. Moments later, okay, a couple days later, your box arrives, and they put in all kinds of extras. I don't know about you guys, but I got like a little a tote, a Coachella Valley Coffee, little bag that you take to the grocery store type of bag.
Yeah.
And the tea, they send the tea with special, like, fancy tea bags. It's really nice. Upscale.
It's a really high-end spot, and it's I like ma and pa operations, and this is one of those. And and as I say, it's fresh grow, and everything is hand roasted. That's why that's why you get such a great rich taste, and there are all kinds of different beans and tasting notes on all these things. So go nuts and take your 10% off at the end. Mark T at checkout for the discount. Yeah,
check them out at CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Mark Thompson Show.
All right, Mark, I have a different one for you here. This is kind of like a slide. This is from Susan, and we're going to have to just read it along, and there's some audio at the end as well.
Never been anything like this. What the hell is going on in the United States of America? We got by because of KGO, processes, protocols, and standards. And then what we have here is a situation. It's not fake. It's real. Why are you yelling? We thought we'd reached our lowest point, but KGO is ripped from our lives. Now we can't hear what the porn stars are saying. There's no way to tell when the giant alligators are. We can't find where the weed smokers are. Then Mark, Kim, Tony, Albert, John get a wild idea that just might work, and we'll do it live. Thank you for being there for us.
So much.
Oh, that's so nice.
That's cute.
Wow, they worked in everything. I'm very impressed.
I tried to slow it down
and protocols and standards.
During Kim's news, sorry. I tried to slow it down a little bit because it went by a little quick. I should have slowed it down a little more.
Yeah, that's good. We got the general idea. That's really cool. Thank you for our anniversary. We got these videos. You have the other video, Albert, or not?
I don't. I was trying to edit some of these, but it's just not ready yet. But we'll be getting to these throughout the next few weeks.
All right, Albert. So you don't have the Schwarzenegger? Guess not.
Actually, it might be in this one, right.
I specifically asked if it was left, and Tony said, "Yeah, I left him in the."
I have I don't have a Schwarzenegger. Let me double check.
Is producing this thing.
Let me double check. We'll try to get to it
what
before
they're doing.
All right, it's okay. We'll look at it. We'll look at it on Monday. How about it on Fridays? This guy follows it all. I'd say the Taylor Swift movie may be the only movie that Michael.
Yeah, he's probably not
see him
going to
having
review
reviewed it per se, but
I would love to see him in that movie, though. That'd be really funny. Shake
he
it
loves
off.
music. He's not a snob at all.
Hop on your rainbow and shake, shake, shake it.
Yeah, he comes and goes on a rainbow. How about it for the Culture Blaster, Michael Snyder? Hi, Michael.
Well, hi, everybody, and allow me to begin by throwing my hat in the ring for the House Speaker position. I've decided I am an independent, but I feel I can lead these guys better than a quasi-KKK member and another of the various lunatics that's lined up out of the GOP. Guys, it's Friday the 13th. Do you feel lucky, punk? Do you? Anyway,
I forgot it was Friday the 13th. Wow.
Crappy Clint Eastwood impressions aside, I want to point out how lucky I am to be teamed with this sterling group. I shall identify them with their Viking warrior names: Mark the Marvelous, Kim the Canny, Albert the Awesome, and Tony the Terrific. for the past year on the Mark Thompson Show. Happy anniversary.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you very much, Michael. I have to say, we're so grateful for your contributions every week. Really are. So thank
I
you.
appreciate that. And also the good word goes out to Courtney, the crime buster, of course, John, the judge Daly, and our very own superhero team of political pundits, Jim Avila, Michael Shure, and David K. Johnson, our legal eagle David Katz, and other various contributors, and of course our devoted and sometimes prickly audience. The highest compliment I can pay is that this is a show that I listen to regularly, even when I'm not on it. I mean, I don't have to be on it. Anyway, thank you, everybody. So this is, as Kim and Mark have pointed out, an uncommon Friday in the movie industry due to a leggy blonde gorilla, an attractive one, by the way, who can write smart, tuneful songs, sing them, and put on a spectacular show. There are no major studio releases coming out this weekend.
Nobody wants to take on the Swift. I love it.
Scared. They were reluctant to go up against the big concert documentary, Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour. And no, you're right, Kim, I didn't see it, despite my affection for a lot of the recordings in her post-country music career. Some films that were supposed to be released today were rescheduled, but in the meantime, I have a couple of recent direct-to-streaming movies and a couple less splashy documentaries to cover, all worth your attention as much as Tay-Tay's Swiftapalooza. So shall I get to the goods?
Please, do the honors.
I shall. Okay. Let's start with something that has a little whiff of poignance about it, and I'll explain why. Last week, we briefly acknowledged the great director, William Friedkin, who brought us the groundbreaking horror movie, The Exorcist, in the context of a less than satisfying sequel, The Exorcist Believer, that he had nothing to do with. This guy's filmography includes, among other things, The French Connection, Sorcerer, To Live and Die in L.A., The Boys in the Band, and much more. And sadly, he died in August at the age of 87. But William Friedkin left us one last feature film, and it's a very good one. He directed The Caine Mutiny Court-Martial, which is a new movie version of author Herman Wouk's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel, The Caine Mutiny, which is about a provocative American military trial brought about by events that occur on a U.S. Navy minesweeper in the Pacific during World War II. In 1954, the book was adapted into a renowned film that starred Humphrey Bogart as Captain Queeg of the USS Caine and co-starred, get this star power, Joel Ferrer, Van Johnson, and Fred McMurray. It was a critical and box office success, and now we have Friedkin's very tight, taut, sharply directed, and very well acted remake about the court-martial of the Caine's executive officer for mutiny. The setting is modern, with the Caine assigned to the Middle East theater, where a sudden storm compels the first officer to take command of the Caine away from its captain, but the story loses none of its impact in what is largely a cosmetic update, save for some stagey stuff at the end. The cast is led by Kiefer Sutherland as Captain Queeg, a humorless, demanding perfectionist, Jake Lacey as Lieutenant Steve Marek, the Caine's first officer who has been accused of mutiny by Queeg, Jason Clarke as Barney Greenwald, the reluctant naval officer who is a lawyer ordered to defend Marek, and the late Lance Reddick, who you may recall as the concierge in the John Wick movies, playing the head of the Navy tribunal deciding the case. The actors, including the supporting cast, are gold star, with Sutherland giving one of his most compelling performances as Queeg. It's not quite Bogey saying, "Who stole the strawberries?" but it's damned potent. And the whole enterprise is not one of those black and white morality tales. The outcome is going to leave you musing about duty, psychological fitness for combat, the military chain of command, and much more. My verdict on the Caine Mutiny Court-Martial, guilty of being a top-notch drama. It's on Paramount Plus, so you don't even have to go to the movie theaters.
Stream it right now. Wow, I'm a huge Friedkin fan, so that would really be, that's terrific. To hear that you liked it is terrific. All right. What else you have,
okay.
Michael?
So Fair Play was a genuine find for me. Someone suggested I check it out. It debuted on Netflix a couple of days ago, and I thought, direct to Netflix. How good could this be? Well, it's very good. It's an interpersonal relationship drama set amid the dog-eat-dog world of high finance, as a couple of big-time stockbrokers at the same firm are romantically involved in defiance of corporate policy. So right after they get engaged on the sly, one of them is promoted, throwing them into a quandary, to say the least. The confluence of office politics, money madness, and sexual tension is explosive. And what Fair Play says about corporate greed and gender imbalance in modern society is really hot stuff. So I don't know the work of filmmaker Chloe Domont, but this is really impressive. Her script crackles, her direction is assured, and of course, the talents and chemistry of her lead actors are crucial to the success of the movie. So who does she have? Phoebe Dynevor, who is in fact the woman who played Daphne Bridgerton on the immensely popular Bridgerton TV series, and Alden Ehrenreich, the guy who played young Han Solo in Solo, a Star Wars story, played the lovers and co-workers Emily and Luke. And they are fantastic. And the veteran UK character actor, Eddie Marsan, I think American audiences know him as Terry on Ray Donovan, the palsied brother ex-boxer. He plays their prick of a boss, and man, he leaves a brutal impression. So this is often profane. So I bring this to the attention of anybody who is a little upset by, salty language and physical activity. But it's always powerful. About sex, love, business ethics, and ambition. Highly recommended, again, except for the faint of heart. Fair Play is on Netflix. Really impressed by it.
Wow, look at you. A couple of streamers that he likes. By the way, Tom says that Tom is the keeper of the ding here. He says quandary is a ding word. Profane is a ding word, by the way. Yeah.
Really? In what universe is profane? I know it's something that people want to avoid in some cases. Anyway, I do want to talk about a couple of documentaries other than the Taylor Swift one. Make Me Famous. Oh, by the way, both have kind of Bay Area connections for our Bay Area audience members. Make Me Famous is a documentary about a little-known painter, a gay man and kind of troublemaker, and sort of just one of those oddballs living in the East Village in the 80s, whose work actually has become far more respected since he disappeared with nobody knowing what became of him during a trip to France. This guy's name is, in fact, the guy's name is Brzezinski. And we just don't know whatever happened to Edward Brzezinski, except that he was a peer of Jean-Michel Basquiat and Keith Haring in the 80s art scene in New York. He was not one that became famous then, and he was desperate for attention. And the crazy thing about this movie is there were all kinds of, we'll call them communes, like creative communes and kind of gatherings of people, like Club 57 in the East Village. It was so rough back then in that neighborhood. This guy, Ed Brzezinski, actually lived in a squat across from a men's shelter. And everything looks really, when you look at the old vintage footage, and there's a lot of it, everything looks really pretty bombed out. But he had his own little gallery space in there, and he promoted his shows in more upscale galleries, much to the chagrin of the snooty types. And amazingly enough, the talking heads from today are some of whom were peers, one of whom was a lover of his, and they're so dismissive and so kind of nasty in some ways, even though they do express a little bit of affection for the guy. And you see his work, which does have a certain power to it. And I like the fact that it covers the scene and lets you know a little bit about what was going on back then, and also introduces this kind of almost enigmatic fellow, Edward Brzezinski. But Make Me Famous was compelling throughout, directed by Brian Vincent, and it's available in theaters starting this weekend. And, if it's the sort of thing you're interested in, I would just jump on this movie. It really is an amazing experience.
You're saying that it's somebody you don't know and someone who was connected to a world that was quite high profile and transformative in the art world and beyond?
Well, Edward Brzezinski is one of the guys, Kenny Scharf, well-known artist from the era, obviously Keith Haring, and I did mention Basquiat. They became sort of stars, and this guy was their peer, and he was just sort of self-promoting, and people dismissed him. He was kind of a scamp. One of his ex-lovers is so, so dismissive of him in some ways. It's kind of amazing to see. And then the other people really loved and kind of miss him. And the actual filmmaking crew goes in search of what happened to him over in Europe to try to solve the mystery of his disappearance.
Oh, I see.
Which makes it even more fascinating. But, even Eric Bogosian was part of that scene, the actor and writer, and he speaks at some length about Brzezinski during the interview segments.
Julie says scamp is a ding word. I would agree with that. It's one of those great short ding words. Tom has said chagrin and enigmatic. I didn't even hear you say enigmatic, but okay. Go ahead. Well, by the way, Make Me Famous, is it streamable or is it in theaters only?
It's in theaters right now, but it will be great to watch streaming at home.
Okay, good.
Also in theaters this weekend, and actually the antithesis of Taylor Swift's movie, Joan Baez, I Am a Noise, a really wonderful and heartbreaking and psychologically resonant documentary about the great singer, songwriter, folk artist, and icon of the 60s, including segments about her relationship with Bob Dylan. They had a deep, loving relationship, and she covered some of Dylan's songs. And in fact, her version of Dylan's Love Minus Zero is the absolute pinnacle of that particular song. No one has done it better, including Dylan. She had a beautiful crystalline voice. She's still getting it done in her late 70s. She lives here in California. She is well beloved in the Bay Area. Her sister, who is also addressed in the course of the movie, and one of her two sisters was Mimi Farina, who married the novelist and singer-songwriter Richard Farina and used to tour as a duo. And Mimi is the woman who was behind the Bread and Roses charitable concert series here in the Bay Area that raised tons of money for all kinds of good causes. And Mimi no longer with us, but Joan, speaks about her relationship. It's almost like a therapy session in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of vintage footage, recent and older performances by Joan, and the woman is a marvel. And it's, again, a little heartbreaking when you hear about some of the family secrets that get revealed over the course of the film. Joan Baez, I Am a Noise. It's in the theaters, and it was directed by Mira Davatsky, Karen O'Connor, and Maeve O'Boyle. And I think it's really a worthwhile piece of work. Again, it's the flip side of Taylor Swift, to be sure.
Yeah. She came up, Joan Baez did, at a time that folk rock scene was exploding, right?
It was a major thing. And remember, she was married to anti-war activist David Harris, who was actually locked up. And there's stuff about him in here and about her commitment to peace and freedom and the various anti-war movements. There's a lot of stuff covered over the course of I Am a Noise, and all of it worthwhile. So for worthy films to bring to your attention, again, in a week when there are no major studio releases, unless you want to consider the Taylor Swift film one of them.
Well, Joan, but you can see these movies in between or around your running to the theater to see Taylor Swift. Joan Baez, I Am Noise. I Am a Noise.
I Am a Noise.
I Am a Noise. Michael really liked it. Thought it was a way to get inside the head and the life of Joan Baez, almost like a therapy session, he said. Make Me Famous is the story that need be told about the connective tissue between a lot of high-profile people in the art world and the focus of the story. What is his name again?
Edward Brzezinski, a man who disappeared in the early 2000s after basically struggling to get attention as an artist in a scene that had already crowned a bunch of superstars that were his peers.
Fair Play, set in the world of high finance, romantic entanglements, profanity, Michael liked it.
Yeah, man.
you
If you want to see if you want to see Daphne Bridgerton get it on with Han Solo, this is your movie.
What? And where is that playing? No. What was it? What?
Netflix.
There you go. You never need to leave the comfort of your own place. And finally, the Caine Mutiny Court-Martial, the Friedkin movie that he directed prior to his death. I guess that goes without saying. It would be tough for him to direct it after his death. Kiefer Sutherland is the lead as Queeg. And apparently it's a cast that is formidable and a rewrite of the Caine Mutiny as the Caine Mutiny Court-Martial that Michael really likes. And I saw in the chat many people going, how could they ever rewrite that film? How could it, it seems as though it's, one for the ages. But you feel they've done it, right, Michael?
There's no way to, obviously compare it to the original because of its, time and era and what have you. But the update doesn't really hurt this at all. And it is a timeless story about, chain of command, fitness for duty, and a lot of things that, become even more apparent during wartime. And of course, we have some serious conflict in the world right now. So maybe this is even more timely than you would think. I do want to quickly mention some TV programs I'm excited about, have been watching, and would like to recommend, one of which is The Continental, which is basically 3 mini movies creating a little mini series available on Peacock that is a prequel to the John Wick films, all about the origins of Winston, the man in charge of the Continental, the hotel where all of the miscreants and assassins can go safely and interact.
Yes, sorry, Michael. Go ahead. Miscreants.
And in fact, they tell the story of how Winston finds himself in the position he's eventually in the John Wick movies. And the guy who's in charge of the Continental in the 70s, this series begins in Winston's youth with his brother in the 50s. And then you accelerate into the 70s with lots of great needle drops and a performance by a detestable individual. As a detestable individual, Mel Gibson plays the bastard in charge of the Continental. It's as much as we don't like to see him succeed because of his political and religious beliefs being so radical and difficult. And again, I don't want to get into the depths of it, but he's quite good as this monstrous fellow in charge of the hotel.
He left the anti-Semitism back at the house, and he performed well on the set, is what you're telling me.
Well, yeah, I'm telling you that. It's funny. The guy that he portrays is sort of a Christian fanatic on top of being a bastard. So I thought, that's why.
Do I need to be familiar with John Wick, the series of films, to enjoy the Continental?
No, not really, but there's a lot of, boom crack, martial arts fighting. It's not up to the movie's quality level for what those movies are, but I was diverted by it. I enjoyed watching it. I was far more excited by Lupin Series 2, the great French actor Omar Sy playing a man in France who's got a real love of the fictional character Lupin, who's sort of a gentleman thief and has been living his life according to the philosophies and behavior of this fictional character. And his estranged wife and son get caught up in it. And Emmanuel Seigné, not Emmanuel Seigné, there's a French actress who plays his wife, who's really quite good in the movie. And also, if you haven't watched Series 1, this thing is on Netflix. I highly recommend it. And finally, I do want to mention Loki Series 2, part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but on Disney Plus, a series with the great Tom Hiddleston as Loki, God of Mischief, caught up with the Time Variance Authority, who are trying to control the timeline, prevent it from breaking into alternate universes, and failing to do so. So it's up to Loki and a TVA officer played by Owen Wilson in buddy picture fashion to try to save the multiverse. And I love the show. These guys are so charismatic and fun. Disney Plus.
Well, man, you really you found some stuff on television that you really enjoyed. And you found actually pretty positive reviews for everything involved here today. Michael, what's happened to you?
Well,
great.
you know,
There's
I'm in a
never
good
been
mood
anything
thanks
like
to the-
this.
Thanks to the beatdown of the Dallas Cowboys last Sunday, I've been in a great mood for 5 days, man.
It has been pretty strong. Michael lives and dies by the fortunes of the Niners, Giants, and Dubs. You don't have any love for the hockey team? The Sharks?
I'm a Philadelphia Flyers fan.
I see. Okay.
Died in the
All right.
wool since childhood.
Michael, we love you. The Culture Blaster can be found across social media as just that, the Culture Blaster.
And Mark, let's point out on Threads and on Instagram as Mike the Knife 123.
Oh, Mike the Knife 123. Don't leave out the 3. If you get Mike the Knife 1-2, it's a totally different dude. Mike the Knife 123. He comes and goes. Where's the rainbow? Oh, there it is. Oh my God. Bye, Michael. Thank you, Michael.
Hey, go Niners!
Go Niners. Wow. Feels like just one of those days, doesn't it? Poor Kim has to go over and do the after party live. I don't even have time to really.
We'll do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
I don't know. I was going to, try to wrap it up in a neat bow, but we got to get out of here. Monday, I promise you the videos. I've got video from Schwarzenegger. I got a video from Morgan Freeman. I've got really good, but I don't know. It's been lost, and I'm trying to also any kind of other outstanding videos and emails for our anniversary, which we're celebrating all month, but the real celebration was this week, and we really had so much fun talking to all of you. You've been so supportive. Albert, do I have shouts to do, or have I done them?
We are all caught up, I believe. I think we're just a couple more actually here. Pinky $1 day.
Pinky $1 day. Big shout out to the Pink. I thought I saw somebody with a question about. Most of them have been answered, I think. Oh, here's what I saw. Vivian with, Vivian. Thinking of you and the family, Vivian. Thank you for the
Big
10
shout
spot.
out.
Here is what I saw. Happy anniversary week. Thank you for giving us what Cumulus took from us. Here's to many more years of great discussions and great topics. The Lady Beatrice with a 5.
Big shout out.
You. Yeah. Mitch with the 10 spot.
Big
Congrats.
shout out.
Yeah, thank you. We're very excited that we made a whole year.
Yeah.
And there were questions about the chats and are they saved? I think they were pretty much answered in the chat from what I could see. So everybody's pretty cool. Those who I apologize to for having missed them in the virtual meetup. You can find that apology at the beginning of the show. I really am downcast about it, but there's not much more than I can do. It was pretty strong, but it just couldn't quite be error-free. So that's a lesson learned for next time. Kim, the After Party Live is next.
We'll
Check
do
it.
it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Exactly. Kim, anything, closing remarks on our 1-year anniversary?
I'm very happy to be with you and everyone here in the chat, to meet you and to be able to hang out with you guys every day. It's an absolute pleasure and treat.
It really is. Thank you, Albert. Thank you, John Daly. Thank you, Tony, and everybody. And Shadow.
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Have a great weekend. We will be here Monday.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Till then, bye-bye.